Today's episode of Glen's Retro Show is brought to you by DNA Dimension Designs, the best custom retro gaming decals in the game, period.
Glen's Retro Show is also brought to you by Arcade Graphics. Looking to spruce up your Arcade 1-Up home arcade machine with a fantastic look? Be sure to look at arcadegraphics.com today. Hi everybody, thank you for joining me on today's edition of Glen's Retro Show. Today's episode kind of came out of something I just found at Walmart at a reasonable price. The original Sony PlayStation, I love this thing. I remember when this thing was coming out, there was a Sega Saturn coming out, and Sony had announced this little powerhouse here. And at the time I had the Sega Genesis, the Sega CD, 32X, and I felt kind of burned with what they did with the 32X and even the Sega CD. The Sega CD was actually a good piece of hardware. They simply turned it into a full motion video machine, and the Sega Genesis really wasn't up to that challenge. But when this thing was offered in 1995, I got it right away and I never looked back. Now recently, with all of the new things from Nintendo, their classic NES, the classic SNES, talks about a classic N64, kind of out of the blue, Sony came out with a classic of their own. And the price they were asking for initially, unfortunately, I didn't think was bad, but I saw a lot of reviews from other YouTubers, and I kind of held off on getting it because of both having NTSC and PAL games on the same machine, and the game library not great. But I was at Walmart yesterday, and I saw this little guy sitting there for $59. And to be honest, even if it's got a bad selection of games on here, to me it's worth it just for the case. If you were to buy an NES classic style case for Raspberry Pi, that's going to cost you about 30 bucks. You get a Pi in there, another 30 bucks. You already have the $60. You still need controllers, power supplies, and so on. So I thought for $60, I'm going to give this a try. I mean, let's have a look. How bad can it be? Okay, the first thing we look at, obviously, is the box. And sadly, back when I got my original PlayStation in 1995, I didn't keep the original box. It's one of those things where I got it, I'm like, oh my god, I'll never take this thing off the TV set. I'm going to have it playing here forever. I don't need the box anymore. So sadly, I don't have the original box. But from what I remember, this is a very good recreation of the box. They do make a note here, they don't include the actual power pack. But since you use a standard micro USB to USB type A connector, you probably have tons of power supplies around, so that's actually not a big deal. But it did a nice job here with the box itself. The box feels really, really nice. They do show you, their selection of games on here, 20 games that defined an era. And I'm not sure if I completely agree with that. I know a lot of other YouTubers also did not agree with that. And on the back, they do show you the 20 preloaded games on here. And to be honest, some games I'm glad are on here. Others I really have no interest in at all. Doesn't mean other people don't. But for me, the Battle Arena Toshinden, that's one of the first games I played, and I love that game. Cool Borders 2, never played it, not my type of game. Destruction Derby, graphically and for the gameplay mechanics is great, but I also felt that the original Destruction Derby's controls were way too touchy, making the thing pretty, I don't say unplayable, but I found it too hard to play because the turning your car was just very, very difficult in the game, but the idea of it was really good. Now again, Final Fantasy 7's on here. I've never played any of the Final Fantasies, so I could probably get into that and give that a try. The Grand Theft Auto, again, it's the top-down version. It's not one of the more advanced versions on here. The Intelligent Cube, I have no idea what that game even is, so I guess I can take a look at that. Jumpin' Flash, again, I played a little bit of that. I never owned it. I guess it's an okay game. I don't know if I'd make that a game I'd include on here as, you know, an amazing game. Crash Bandicoot would have been a better game to kind of throw on there. Metal Gear Solid, good game. A lot of people love it. I got into it a little bit, never finished it. It's an okay game. Now, Mr. Driller is an interesting choice. I actually played that originally on the Sega Dreamcast, and I do like that game. But I don't know if that's a game that's really deserving of being called a, you know, a game that defined this PlayStation of that era. The Odd World, again, played very little bit of that about that. A lot of people do seem to like it, so maybe I'll give that a try and see how it goes. Rayman, actually, I have on the Atari Jaguar, and actually graphically, I think it's actually better on the Jaguar. But the PlayStation probably has something on it that may be better than the Jaguar version. But just in talking to people, they do believe the Atari Jaguar is a superior version of the original Rayman. Resident Evil Director's Cut. Okay, Resident Evil is a great game on here. I love the Resident Evil series. At least the original ones that were on the PlayStation. And Code Veronica on the Dreamcast was awesome. Revelations Persona. No idea what kind of game that is at all. Ridge Racer 4. That is probably going to be a good game. The original Ridge Racer was definitely one of the selling point games on the original PlayStation launch. Super Puzzle Fighter 2. I really don't know if that's really a game that's going to tickle my fancy or should have even been on this original collection. Siphon Filter, again, never played it, but I've heard people seem to like it. One of my favorite games of all time is actually Tekken, and Tekken 3 is absolutely one of the best games, I think, on the original PlayStation. So that being on here almost is worth the price of admission right there. I love that game. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. Again, I'm not a big fan of those kind of games, but a lot of people are. And my understanding, it's a good version on here. Twisted Metal, again, a launch title. That was a very, very good game. So that's I'm kind of fine that that's on here. And then Wild Arms, again, no idea about that game whatsoever, but I can always take a look. And as everyone knows, this machine has also been hacked, and it's very easy now to add additional games on here. So again, for $60 total, with taxes and everything out the door, I think this is worth it. And you do include not only the unit, but 2 controllers, which is something that you didn't get with the original NES Classic. You do have your power cord and HDMI cable, again, which is good to include. Just no AC adapter, but that's okay. And again, so the box itself looks really good. Let's get this out of the box. Now, I haven't touched this thing at all, so I really got no idea what's going on or in here. But I will show you. Here's the original PlayStation, and you can see it is much, I'd say much bigger, but it's definitely bigger than the box itself that's housing this new one. So let's take a look and get this thing out of the box. Okay, so they had like a tape seal on here. I generally use a hair dryer to try and get it off, but actually in this case, all the sticky stayed on here. So I actually wish I left the sticker on and just cut it. So we're going to take this thing out of the box here. And again, the box itself is nice. And it looks like they went above and beyond. They're putting all these special folds in here. I don't know if that's really necessary, but that's okay. And we find another box. So let's see if we can get this box out of this box. Do a little bit of shaking. There we go. So we'll take our original box, and I'm not going to throw this one away like I did to my other one. So we'll get this put out of the way. Forcing for prosperity. And we have a nice white box in here with the original PlayStation logo, which is kind of nice. And not much more on the box. Some writing on the back. And they do have, the serial number and UPC codes on the side here, which is a nice little touch. I have no idea if it really means anything to this unit. But let's open this box a little bit more. We have another. Oh my God. We have another box. Okay, okay, so we have another box in here. Let's take this out. So we have a box in a box. Here we go. At least I will say it is very well protected in there. We have the little PlayStation manual. Now I do have my original manual. If I can find it, I'll take some pictures of it here. But it does look like what I remember for the actual manual for the PlayStation. That's kind of nice. And then here is, you have to open, I think it's open it over here. Yep, you have to actually open this box to get to the Classic here. If I can pull it open. Here we go. Again, cardboard, I mean, they spent some money on all this stuff here, which is nice. And I'm going to pull this out just for a second. And let's just move this out of the way for a second as well. And I'm going to put my original PlayStation down here. like so. Make it look nice. There we go. And then we have our Classic, which is, you can see it's not much bigger than the CD tray on the original PlayStation. The color looks pretty good, even on the buttons. So they did a really nice job with all that. Let's get this thing out of the little plastic here. And they did tape it shut. Okay, and we got it out of the plastic. And they did a really nice job in the recreation. Even on the front here, you can see they did recreate the memory card slots, which are not functional. But the two joystick ports are USB, but they made it look like the same style. The front looks pretty good. Looking at the top, again, the buttons here look the same. The CD tray here does not open. When you press here, obviously this does open on the original, but on this one it just, I think, ejects the discs. The drive does not open, even though on the back it looks like it could, but it most certainly does not. We have a power and reset buttons here, which is very nice. An LED indicator, which is very nice. If you look at the side, you can even see even the vent holes have been pretty well recreated on the machine. So again, for the money, they really did a nice job recreating at least the outside box and the unit itself. Now in the back here, you can see in the original, we had our parallel I/O port, which does open up here. And let me see if I can get a little better angle so you guys can see this a little bit nicer. It took a while, but I was able to get it off. Now on later machines, I believe this was taken away, but mine is the original unit, so I still have my parallel port here. This one, although it looks nice, they did a nice job putting it on there. That does not come off, but they at least put it there. So I'm gonna put this thing back in place. You got a serial I/O on here. You obviously don't have that anymore. Your composite out, don't have that anymore. It's HDMI, where the multi-AV here is out, and your AC in is now a micro USB. And then you look on the other side, again, the vent holes. So it did a really nice job recreating a smaller version. I mean, it really, really looks really nice. Even if you didn't want this thing to play games, want to modify it into a Pi, that is a really nice case. They did a really nice job with that. Now, I know a lot of people are complaining about the controllers, so let's just take a look here and see where we can find the controllers in this box. So let me take this back out of the way for a moment and go back to our box, and let's see what else we have in here. We got this here. Does this pull out of the way? How do we get to the controllers? Where are the controllers? We do have to pull this thing out and just fold it open, maybe. I don't know. Let's find out. We'll open that over there. Okay, we do have to fold this out. I'm not a fan of this. This is a little ridiculous to get to your controllers, but we got to pull this whole thing apart. Dang! That's a lot of work. But we have our HDMI cable, which is kind of good. And we have our controllers here, and a micro USB power cable. Now, I know a lot of people were complaining about the controller not having the analog ports on it, or the analog joysticks, but this is supposed to be the original PlayStation Classic. So this is how you got your machine. So let's take this thing out of the bag and see how it feels. I'm going to take this all out of the way. And just feeling the controllers. Well, I'm going to say that the buttons feel really nice. And it feels pretty good in the hand. With your original PlayStation, like so, you know, you would think that this could have been a controller that went along with it. The color, it looks a little bit off, but not too bad. But it looks like, you know, it could go with this. But obviously it does not. This goes with the little tiny PlayStation Classic we have right here. And what's kind of nice about it, though, is when you look at the controller and the actual micro USB here, they did a nice job trying to recreate that look of the original. So when it goes in, I mean, that looks pretty nice. So again, I'm going to say, as far as the actual console, the controller, the box, although the box is a bit of a pain getting things out of there, they did a nice job making this look really, really close to the original, just like Nintendo did. They did a good job as well. But the controller ports on the NES obviously looked a little bit different. This does not. They actually went that extra mile to make it look really, really good. Now, it would have been nice if they put little micro SD card slots up here to actually use as memory cards. But again, it's stored inside. And, you know, the weight is light. I mean, it doesn't feel like there's a lot in here. The controller actually might feel about the same, I guess. Maybe maybe this one's a little bit heavier than the controller. But enough about the box, enough about how it looks, which, again, I think just for the price alone, to have something like this looks pretty good. But the gameplay is what's important. So let's take a look at some of that. Okay, once you have everything connected, have your TV powered on, make sure you're on the right HDMI port. You can see on your Classic, there's a little amber light just letting you know that power is coming into the unit. All you need to do is connect your power supply and your HDMI cable. Very simple. And you can still see the size comparison between the original PlayStation and the little Classic. Just going to hit our power button here. We'll get the amber light turn into green. And you get the original startup logo, but missing the very end part where it was kind of awe-inspiring, that sound effects. They kind of cut off the end of it. That's okay, I guess. We're going to have to extend our cable here. So we're going to take this off. All right, we get our cable. And the cable length is actually pretty good. You can sit quite a ways away from your television with this, which is kind of good. We're going to select the English United States. And showing you your buttons, how to quit the game and go back, which is going to be your reset button. You turn your console on and off, and you can even change discs by using the open button. But that's all good. It's nice that they put that on the screen. I think we can skip the safety instructions. I think I'm okay with that. Okay, so when you first come into your main menu here, you see your games. It's a very simple interface, which can be good or could be bad, depending on what you're used to. We have the Battle Arena to Shinden. And I'm trying to use my controller here. Let's see, I want to go here. Here we go. So you press up, and you can make your other game selections. Again, very basic. I know a lot of people didn't like this, but it's a clean interface. You don't need a whole bunch of bells and whistles to pick these games. But again, you can now hack these little guys, so I'm sure this is something you can change. But I'm going to take a look first at the Battle Arena to Shinden. Now, I haven't played this thing in ages, so, you know, forgive me if I do really bad. We're going to press the X button to play the game. So there's the second part of the logo. So it kind of cuts off when you start the game, it continues it. So I kind of see why they did that, because you were loading the BIOS, but you had to pick your game. And then once it picks it, it goes in here. That's okay. Now this is obviously the PAL version, because it just said Europe. So it's not the NTSC version.
Many years have passed since this tournament, known only to those in the underworld, was last held. Some fighters have come for personal glory.
We'll go right into the game, and again, I haven't played this in so long. Oh! God, I'm really bad, guys. I'll be amazed if I kill her. Well, it's still a fun little game, and it plays like I remember, although I can't really tell if it's running much different. I mean, NTSC is going to run at 60 hertz, with a PAL, European is going to run at 50 hertz. But it feels okay to me. But I'm definitely no expert when it comes to, you know, PAL versus NTSC and the differences in the game. If you played this on NCS television, it definitely would have made a difference in the gameplay. It would have ran very different. But being it's HDMI based, and I'm sure my TV can compensate for that, it seems to be playing okay to me here. Nothing like good old button mashing. No problem.
No problem.
So that plays well enough. So it really comes down to if you do like the games that are actually on the console, or, again, it's very easy nowadays to modify the machine to play more games. So it's asking me to want to save, or make a save point. I'm going to say no. That was pretty bad gameplay there. I'm just going to go pick another game. And I'm going to try Destruction Derby. Now this was a game I really bought immediately when I saw it, because they made some really good games. But the problem was the steering didn't work so well. So I want to see if that's still as bad as I remember as far as steering goes. Again, a very long time since I played this game as well. Once again, this is the European release, not the NTSC release. So I can't see why people get upset about that. I mean, Nintendo was kind enough to make an NTSC version of their Classic and a PAL version of that Classic. And Sony kind of just, I think, just threw stuff together really quickly. But again, back when this thing was released, graphically, this was phenomenal to see this kind of graphics on your home console. So let's try and start the game here and see how bad the steering is. I remember the steering being such a pain. I don't think they'll have a way to link your classics, so we're going to just go with the one game here. And I'll stay with Rookie. We'll take all the defaults. Let's just get into the game. Yeah, the steering is just like I remember it. This is one, again, that definitely could have done well with the analog sticks, but again, they weren't available when the PlayStation first came out. But just the steering is just such a pain. And it really takes away from what would be a really fun game. And of course, there were different versions, and they made other releases of Destruction Derby 2 and so forth, where they did improve the steering a little bit. But I always felt that the steering was never that great. But the point is, how much does it remind me of playing on the original machine? And it definitely does that. So I have to give them kudos for the good emulation here as far as how it's playing. Even though this is definitely playing in the PAL format, I personally don't notice much of a difference over what I remember on the NTSC release. But again, we're not playing on an NTSC set, we're playing over HDMI, which I'm sure makes compensations for that. But graphically, it looks the same. It's a very crisp display, much better than you would get with a composite output to an HDMI television. So I know there's just been a lot of hate on this Classic, and there's definitely some things that they could have done better. But again, I only paid $60 for it. And for that amount of money, I don't think this was a bad purchase. If you can find it on sale, I don't think it's bad. Would I have paid the full price of this? No, I would not have paid the full price for it. But at sale price, yeah, I would. And actually, I did. And the controller itself feels fine. Get that first guy to place. Get out of my way. Oh, I'm losing it. I'm losing it. No! Oh, man. Once they get you, you're screwed. Oh, my God. I'm never like, oh, I lost my second place. No! Oh, my steering's all messed up. Oh, my car's pulling to the right big time. No! Oh, my car's wrecked! Well, that was just like I remembered, so there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to escape out. I'm not going to make a save state once again. No, thank you. And let's pick another game here. What do we want to play here? Mr. Driller was a fun game. Again, I played this more on the Dreamcast, so I haven't played it on the PlayStation. Sony Computer Entertainment of America has a lot of European releases on here. Try and get into the game here. So I mean, this is a fun game, but would I put this on, you know, the Classic here to represent, you know, the best games of the PlayStation? No, I wouldn't have. It's a fun game, but this is not something I would have definitely put on here as a selling point to the game. Ah, get out of the way, get out of the way, look out, no! Didn't do very well there. But it's a puzzle game, it's fine. It's just, again, not one that I think really is a selling point to the Classic here. I'm going to take a look at, what do we have here? I want my, nope. They do have this Puzzle Fighter, but yeah. Battle Arena Toshinden and Tekken 3. Two good fighting games. Again, don't judge me by my bad playing experience. I haven't played this thing in forever. But it is good to give you two controllers so you can play it with a friend, play it with your kids, which is kind of nice. No additional expense. So again, for 60 bucks, you get the console, you get everything aside from a power pack. And again, get a USB thumb drive, and you can actually add a lot more games to the unit. I will say that, you know, even back then, the graphics, like these full motion videos, were kind of grainy, and it does look substantially worse on high definition television sets. It definitely looked better on the old, you know, composite outputs. It really shows its age with the video, with the graininess here. Because back then, when you saw this type of video, your jaw was on the floor on how well it looked and how really good it looked. But here, it just looks more grainy than anything. Gotta be king!
Round one, fight.
And I have no recollection at all of the special moves anymore, so I'm gonna be in trouble. But this is definitely a game I can sit down and get back into. Oh my god, he killed me! this is definitely a game I can sit down with and get back into and learn the moves all over again. This was just really a good game.
You lose. Round 2. Fight.
Oh my god! Don't know any moves anymore! That's what I'm talking about. Look at my butt.
Win. Final round. Fight.
Uh-oh. Learning my move. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah. Lucky button mashing. That's what I'm talking about.
You win.
So the gameplay is really good here as well. I don't know if this is the NTSC or the PAL version, but it definitely brings back some good memories. And just sad that I'm really forgetting how to play this game. All the special moves I used to know. Ooh. Oh, he's got me. Oh, I'm done. Okay, before I embarrass myself some more, let's go try a different game. What else do we have in here that we can try? Twisted Metal, another game that definitely did define the PlayStation when it was first released back in the day. Man, I haven't played this again in forever. I think I'll go with the good old truck, Dark Side. Well, I guess graininess is going to be the name of the game. I mean, you're talking the original PlayStation, now on a high-definition television. So if you're expecting, you know, improved visuals, upscaling, you're not going to get that. That was easy enough. Man, I forgot how hard these digital controls would be on this thing. My God. So all the blockiness and graininess you remember is definitely here. Sounds fine. I mean, the emulation to me seems okay, but I'm no super expert on it. I think I'm done. Back up, back up. Oh, I'm close to being done. Oh, another shot. I think I'm history. I gotta run for it. Run! Oh, I'm done. Oh, I'm so done. Oh, that's it for me. I'm done. Hit the old reset button here. Take us back out. So again, it's not bad. You have to really like, I guess, either A, a small number of games you do get. Again, for $59 for everything here and a couple of good games like Battle Arena Toshinden, Destruction Derby is still a good game. I mean, Final Fantasy, I don't play it. Good games. So there's some games in here that are okay. Other ones that like Mr. Driller, you're like, why is it on here? Resident Evil is a good game. Let's take one last look at Ridge Racer before we start doing our final thoughts. Good old Namco. A lot of Namco on here, which is nothing wrong with that. They definitely made some great games.
R4. Welcome to the Real Racing Roots 99 Grand Prix.
Now it is funny that they put R4 instead of the regular Ridge Racer on here, because that was a launch title where this was not. And with Ridge Racer, you got right into the game. You have to go through all of this. Just get me into the game. Let's go. The display there, I mean, it's very, very blocky. But again, they're not upscaling anything. Would have kind of been nice if they gave you an option to upscale, like Bleem did when they released their emulator for the Dreamcast for the PlayStation games. And unlike the Construction Derby, the digital controls here are fine. I mean, they work really, really well. Doesn't mean I drive well, but the controls are fine. Okay, let's get into some final thoughts of the PlayStation Classic. Okay, so what's my final thoughts on the PlayStation Classic? Well, to be honest, I definitely wouldn't have paid full price for it. But if you find it on sale, like I got this at Walmart for $59, for that, I think it's an okay buy. I mean, there's definitely some fun games on here. A lot of games that I think are bad choices to put on here as being defining the original PlayStation. But there's no doubt there are some fun games on here. You get 2 controllers, you get everything you need except for the AC adapter itself. But I'm sure you have tons of those lying around anyway. And if not, you only need a couple of dollars. And the ability to hack this little guy, like you follow either 8-bit Flashback or ETA Prime, both of them can show you how to use a USB and USB thumb drive in your second player port there to load just about any game that you want fairly easily. Now remember, there's always a chance of bricking the machine, but I think the guides that ETA Prime and 8-bit Flashback have put out there are fairly easy to follow, and then you can play pretty much any game that you want. So again, you really can't get a Raspberry Pi in a case for the same amount of money, I think, with 2 controllers and everything in there. At least I haven't found it with good quality in them. It looks nice. The emulation plays okay from what I can tell. So again, on sale, I'd pick it up. Full price, absolutely not. And hopefully Sony will come out with maybe a PS2 Classic and they do a little better job and not so much rush to market like they did with this. But in any case, if you did like the video, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Do leave a comment down below on your thoughts on what Sony did here with the PlayStation Classic. Do you have one? Are you enjoying it? Are you upset you did buy it? In any case, leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching, everyone, and remember, game on.
Glenn at the Tiny Arcade fan page. Remember, don't admire people too much. They'll disappoint you.
Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.